out and away we... Bing bang!
Welcome to episode 3 of Paddock Talk. As always, I'm Scott.
I'm Kyle.
Man, 3 episodes in already, man. It feels like just yesterday we started this.
Yeah.
But time flies when you're having fun. How you been, man? How's life been treating you?
It's been good, man. Spending lots of money, but that's our economy right now, but we won't get into that. We'll stay on track.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm good. It felt like a long time in between races. I think it's just I'm still hungry for F1 right now.
It was excruciating, man. It really ate at me. It felt, I mean, we had this long off season, then 2 weeks of nothing but NASCAR to hold us by, and hockey. I mean, that's just not enough. F1's, we have to have it every week, damn it.
I agree.
Well, I guess let's just jump into the F1 talk and news around the paddock. So one-time world champion Jenson Button announced that he will be racing in his NASCAR debut for Rick Ware Racing in March. It'll be his first of 3 attempts in a NASCAR race. It'll be at the Circuit of Americas. And he won't be the only F1 driver there. Former champion Kimi Räikkönen will be making his second NASCAR start at the same race. It's going to be exciting. How do you think these European ringers are going to do in NASCAR?
Well, I've heard, who was it? Daniel Ricciardo say it's too dangerous because it's all left-hand turns, right? So I don't really know. I think I've heard others talk about that. So I don't know too much about NASCAR. I'm going to be honest with everyone. But I think, Kimmy the Iceman, I hope he does good. Jensen, I don't know too much about, but yeah, I hope Kimmy does well.
Oh man, Jensen, since he retired in 2017, has been just a lot of different, a lot of endurance racing. He's done, I believe, some rally racing as well. So he hasn't been very stale and stagnant in his retirement. He has been keeping sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see what he does. He's not in a, we'll say I didn't want to say a backmarker car, but I guess you can call Rick Ware Racing a backmarker vehicle. They're really not the best. They are going to have some technical alliance with Stewart Haas Racing, which, if that Haas name rings a bell, that's the co-owner Gene Haas is a F1 owner Gene Haas is the co-owner in Stewart Haas Racing. So a little
Okay.
F1 flavor there, but I can see him being okay. It is a road course. It's not the cars. It's not how much you got into the car. It is the driver. And Jensen does have experience on the COTA circuit. NASCAR, I believe, has only run 1 or 2 races there, so he'll definitely have more experience on the track. And Kimmy, when he made his start last year at Watkins Glen, he was a relatively competitive car, and he showed pace that throughout the garage area, the American paddock, um, he showed amazing pace, and it turned some guys' heads on what F1 drivers, what skills these guys have. He didn't show it in the end result because of a nice wreck he was caught up in, not his own doing. So I'm really excited to see what Kimmy can do. I honestly think Jensen's going to be the story leading in, but I think Kimmy's going to be a top contender if he doesn't get caught up in other people's garbage. Yeah, I can honestly see him as a top 10 driver. I'm stoked for this.
Okay, yeah. And he's still living off that Lotus money, so
Oh, yeah. I mean, the guy retired 10 years ago. He could have retired monetarily 10 years ago, but I guess he's got another kid on the way. He's got to make ends meet somehow.
Yeah.
Did you want to bring up our other
Yeah.
other little news of the day?
Yeah, so it seems like the biggest news in F1 right now is actually Angela Cullen leaving Mercedes as Lewis Hamilton's, what was the title? A
Uh,
physiotherapist?
Physiotherapist, trainer.
Because for the longest time, I literally just thought she was his assistant, like carrying his dog around, his headphones, giving him just everything. That's just what I thought. I didn't know she
Honestly,
was
too.
I didn't know she was with him for 7 years. But also I've only been an
Um,
F1 fan for a year and a half.
what a noob. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching F1 for a while, and like I thought the same thing. Like, oh man, like I thought Lewis was that big prima donna where, like, man, like they have this little short girl like as his gopher. Like he does this, he or she does this, she does that for. She his umbrella. It's like, man, that's kind of messed up, but like, come to find out, like a year or two later, I'm like, oh, that's his. Oh. Well, that kind of makes sense. She keeps him in the right frame of mind where he doesn't have to work. I mean, where she doesn't have to worry about him kind of losing focus. He's only focused on racing. I mean, that's what she gets paid to do. So, I mean, it
Yeah,
with this year being so hard on Mercedes, be losing her. I know Lewis has said some nice things about it. I have it pulled up here on the old Instagram. The last 7 years, Angela Cullen has been by my side, pushing me to be the best version of myself. I am a stronger athlete and a better person because of her. So today, I hope you'll join me in wishing her the very best as she takes her next steps towards pursue her dreams. Thank you for everything, Ange. I can't wait to see what the future has in store for
yeah, I don't know what she's moving on to. Like I hope she does the best in whatever she's pursuing. But
you.
leading away from that, I wanted to start talking about Mercedes and Lewis a little bit. Cause
Here
you,
we go.
cause you saying that she's supposed to keep Lewis focused, it seems like he's been unfocused for a couple of years now, like ever since that battle with Max in the championship. Just always complaining. There's always something wrong with the car, and there is something wrong with the car. Don't get me wrong. Just
Well, this year for sure. There's something definitely.
yeah, and Mercedes, it's just like I don't know. I'm not even there, and it feels tense. Like everyone's leaving. It seems like isn't there like lead aerodynamics guy leaving too? Is that what I saw the other day? It
Um,
and I've been seeing a lot of stuff like one of the biggest problems with Mercedes car is their aerodynamics. It just it
yeah,
doesn't seem right.
they definitely missed the mark on their downforce
Their
packages and
their
everything.
side pods.
Yes, I know last year that was a big deal. With the getting used to the ground effects, aerodynamics, and the porpoising, which that's a dangerous. That's very dangerous, as Toto has said on. Um, and this year, it doesn't seem like it. They've solved the porpoising, but they've sacrificed a lot of speed to where they are slower than their customer teams at the moment. And with Lewis losing Angela, like, is he head game to be top notch?
Yeah, and I was thinking
Um,
the same thing, and that was actually was gonna get me into my first big hot take, I think. I don't know if
go for it, dude.
I don't know if Lewis is gonna win another race in F1.
Um,
I don't know if that's a super hot take right now, but unless he goes back to McLaren, he's got no shot. And McLaren shit. They're shit. They're shit.
dude, they're as they call in the states, hot garbage. Well, they might call that in Canada too, hot garbage. But yeah, I agree. It doesn't look like it's going to be very positive for Mercedes this year. They may have one or two races where they can be somewhat competitive, but it's really a 2 to 3 team race, and Mercedes ain't there. Um,
George,
they're best of the midfield.
yeah, George looked better today. I think he had fifth in both free practice sessions.
He did. He did. He looked strong. We'll get into that later, but I know we didn't. I'm going to kind of throw something at you. We didn't discuss this for pre-show notes or anything,
Hmm.
but I know there's been rumors that maybe Lewis leaves this year, like Mercedes. He still wants to race, and like I heard him a few days ago. It's like, God, people will just say anything to get to have something to talk about during this 2 week hiatus. But Brundle's talked about it. Other people have talked about it. So I guess we can talk about it just a tad.
You know what just clicked
Like,
on in my brain? You
what's
saying
that?
that? You know what just
Oh
clicked on
yeah,
in my
go for it.
brain? You saying that? So I was
What's that?
over the last week. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about Shaw possibly going to Mercedes. Have you been seeing that?
Is it Charles or Shaw?
And honestly, whatever comes to mind first. But
I guess it's really depending who's saying it and how posh you are. But yeah, Shaw.
yeah, but say there's some truth behind that rumor that he could end up at Mercedes. Do you think Lewis ends up at Ferrari
Um.
if he does a
So
team
yeah.
switch?
So that is the other issue, or not issue. That is the other thing people have talked about. So he doesn't want to retire. He still wants to race, but where would he go? Well, there's only two other teams that are really competitive. Three, if you kind of count out Red Bull. He ain't going to Red Bull. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Horner could deal with him. He's already got Max, who's the clear number, and Lewis is not going to be the number two. Um, Aston Martin would be like the kind of dark horse with maybe Fernando Alonso. You can pay his contract off to get Lewis, but then you're going to have to spend, or Lewis is either going to take a massive pay cut, which I think this year he's making 60 million. So he'll have to take a massive pay cut to go to Aston Martin, or Ferrari, like do a driver swap, Shaw and Lewis. But here's the thing: would Lewis be any better than a Ferrari right now? Like, I don't see them being as competitive as the Mercedes.
No. And that's the thing. It kind of just like if you want to go to a more competitive team, it's just a one horse race right now, and they're not changing anything up. And I'm referencing Red Bull there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that was pretty much like a guarantee. But that wasn't even like a reference. I was
Yeah,
stating
yeah,
there's only a one horse team.
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing you could do. But are you going to have Max, who's making the second most biggest contract in Formula One, and then have Lewis, who signed his deal at Mercedes, making $60 million a year,
No, it's
um,
not happening.
as his number two?
No.
I mean, at least at Aston Martin, he can be number one, the number one driver. Uh, well, number one on paper. Lance will always still be the number one driver at Aston Martin. Um, and Ferrari, Shaw, he definitely could be the number one driver. Carlos wouldn't appreciate that much. I mean, he's been the F1 journeyman the last 6, 7 years, and he just gets no respect. I mean, that'd be kind of a slap in the face to Carlos.
Mhm. Um.
I mean, it's interesting stuff. Like, stuff that I didn't think, like, man, Lewis is going to retire Mercedes driver. Like, he's, he's not going anywhere else because if you think about it, Mercedes has been the engine supplier for McLaren when Lewis first started, and then he went to Mercedes as the works team.
Mhm.
So he's been a Mercedes driver pretty much his whole career.
Yeah. Would he be more competitive in an Aston Martin than Fernando? I don't think so either.
Uh, yeah, that's tough, man.
I don't think so.
Like, I mean, Fernando's getting hella pace out of that car this year, like, but there's no guarantee what next year would bring, and you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly,
It's
that
just a
definitely would
wait
be
and
tough.
see kind of thing right now.
Mhm. So I guess since we've kind of hinted at like how teams have been doing, let's get into our breakdowns of what's happened in the last day in today in practice. We are recording on a Friday night, that's why we were talking about it today.
Yeah. Yeah, no surprises from both free practice sessions. Max topped both at the end of them. Fernando and Checo, I think Checo finished second in FP1 and Fernando third, third, sorry. And then Fernando finished second in FP2 and Checo third, so they were kind of swapping around.
Uh,
Ferrari was down near the bottom of the top 10 both sessions, so not ideal to quote Carlos Sainz. Not ideal.
no, not at all. Um, yeah, free practice one. It was the Red Bulls 1-2, Aston Martin's 3-4. I mean, Lance Stroll had a pretty good session in free practice one. Then it was the Mercedes, Russell Hamilton, and then yeah, Sainz was 7th, 10th. Um, I know watching the warm up show, the pre Jeddah warm up show on F1 TV, they were talking with Jeddah being a newer circuit, it's not as abrasive to tires as Bahrain is. That maybe Ferrari might be a little bit more stouter with their tire degradation. Uh, the practice sessions aren't showing it. They really aren't.
Nothing has changed at Ferrari, it seems. They just can't get
No,
out of their way.
no, not at all. Like, and going into free practice two, which is pretty much the practice session you want to look at, because that is where every team's going to be doing their qualifying sims. Ninth and 10th, Leclerc ninth, Carlos Sainz 10th, almost a second off Verstappen's pace. And you know Verstappen wasn't pushing that car to the limit.
And not to turn into a mini Nico Rosberg, but Lewis right there outside the top 10 at 11.
Yeah, yep, I agree. Yeah, George Russell bringing out the pace in the car, bringing it fifth. Uh, but you just don't know. Like, Lewis is a savvy racer, and you know Shaw will have that 10 place grid penalty. So even if he sneaks in the top 10, he's going to keep that car clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pierre Gasly was sixth. I just now kind of saw that. Ocon was fourth, Pierre Gasly sixth. This might be the Alpine redemption song,
Yeah, I think
as I say that.
I think Esteban Ocon has to have a strong performance here. After the first weekend in Bahrain, 3 penalties, I think you got to come out and just execute every section perfectly.
Yeah, whether he does that's not another story, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, Alpine needs it. Like, Pierre Gasly was their saving grace last race. Uh, I, I can't wait. I actually like. I'm jazzed to see what qualifying has to offer. Little modifications they've made to it. They've kind of taken a few walls and put them back a bit to make visibility a lot easier. So we don't have cars going at 300 kph going around blind turns and seeing a slow car, uh, and just binning it for no reason because being a fast street circuit with walls that close, I mean, it's dangerous, as Mick Schumacher found out last year, destroying that car and being in the hospital for the night.
hmm One thing I noticed watching
Um,
practice today too
oh, I'm sorry.
is a lot of
Yeah, go ahead.
drivers were going out of bounds. Like a lot.
Turn 22,
Yeah, I think.
that chicane there, that was pretty. That might be the difference maker on the track.
Yeah. Like if you're thinking of putting money on a safety car, it's gonna happen.
Which I think Jeddah has had a safety car. I mean, this will only be, I believe, the third race in Jeddah's history.
hmm
But I mean, it's a street circuit. Safety cars are aplenty. So,
Yeah. Yeah, just with those
um,
guys going out of bounds too, like a lot of them hitting understeer too. I know Lance almost went to the wall. I think one of the Ferraris might almost went into the wall. So yeah, some dangerous stuff out there in practice today.
and Max was having issues understeer bad in that turn 22. Like,
Yeah.
it just seemed every time either watching it or the practice sessions, just issues left and right, and that's not good when the best car is having said issues.
Yeah. I also
So,
noticed Nico
go ahead. I'm
Hulkenberg
sorry.
at eight in
Yes.
practice today. What do you think of the Haas right now?
Again, again, like I said, last, I think it was the post race show. Are in the Haas's have great one lap speed, but until they can show me something for a race pace, I'm going to be kind of scared because it seems like all the Ferrari cars, Ferrari included and Alfa Romeo, just have pace issues during the race. I I want to say Haas could be strong, but here's my guarantee right here. I think Hulkenberg puts it in the top 10 again. I think K Mag will get into the top 15. Lap one, K Mag's gonna break a front wing, go into the pits, change his front wing. Hulkenberg's gonna lose pace and finish like 12th or 13th.
Mm.
I hate to say it, but that's kind of like that's the norm for Haas. The race doesn't give me any hope.
Yeah.
Like last year, I was excited with. Oh wait, we spent a whole year in 2021 to get this car. It's going to be perfect for 2022. They had one good race and it just nosedived. Uh, but speaking of, should we just get into our little guess the front row
Yeah, let's do
for
it.
qualifying? Since by the time the pod should be up, qualifying probably hadn't started yet, so we'll still be. So we'll still have it. We'll still have the tapes on it. Who do you have qualifying second?
So qualifying second, I have Max Verstappen.
Really?
Yes.
I I I have Fernando Alonso.
Okay.
Uh, who
Um,
do you have going first?
yeah, so first I have Checo actually. So I think I've just been hearing a lot of good things about Checo street circuits. Like he had pole last year at Jeddah, and yeah, I think he's just gonna have a good performance and outperform Max in qualifying because he also tends to get or pretty good going for fastest lap. So I think he's just gonna get pole, Max second, Fernando third.
Um, I have Checo at first. I think he's a street course master in the in that Red Bull, and even before Red Bull at Racing Point. I honestly see Max may slip to the second row, and it's going to be Checo in L Plan.
Wow, Max third, hey?
Hmm.
I thought I was going for reach at Max two.
You know, like you can't count out the street course master.
Yeah, maybe that stomach bug fucking rears its ugly head.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine. So, should we go into our predictions?
Yep.
Who do you have finishing last?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lando, but I have to do it again. I can't get that orange piece of garbage out of my head. Lando, last place. McLaren, first retirement again. I'm sorry.
No. See, you know what? I'm going to go with since we have a safety car race. I think there will be a safety car this race for sure, at least one. And I'm gonna throw the pen down. Kisano.
Mm,
He's gonna bin it within the first few laps and get our first safety car of the season.
okay.
So what's your podium looking like? Starting with third.
Third, the podium. Here, let me pull it up real quick. Sorry. I have
Ooh.
Max finishing second again, Fernando third, Checo first. Exact same as my qualifying. What about you?
Wow, I liked how you went from second, third to first.
Yeah.
You threw me off. I was we're talking about. So I got finishing third. I'm gonna do my Will Buxton voice. To finish third and to be on the bottom step of the will be Lance Stroll. I I got Lance. I think the Aston Martin. I think Lance Stroll third,
Wow.
Fernando Alonso finishing second, and then Checo Perez will win the race. I think Max. I don't know how. I don't know when, but I think something's going to happen where there's going to be slight contact, either or has a slight wing damage and has to go into. And I can see him finishing fourth or fifth.
I'm shook right now. I'm shook.
It's a good thing we didn't talk about this before. Like,
If
I'm digging the reaction.
No, I'm actually shook. Like if Max doesn't finish on a podium, I don't know what the F1 world would do. It's just like it's kind of nice that we can have that with a driver, you know what I mean? Like he's so good that it's like if he doesn't get on the podium, if he doesn't win a race, it's shocking. It's just
Well, I mean,
it's so
he's
fun to
allowed to
watch.
not win at least one or two races.
Oh, I know that. It's just he's such a good driver. It's crazy to think.
Oh yeah. And I'm trying to think, did he win? I'm trying to think if he actually won. He hasn't won at Jeddah. Now I'm thinking of it because Lewis won the first race because that was the second to last race before Abu Dhabi in 2021, and then it was the second race last year, which Leclerc, I believe, won, if I remember, and then
So I have the podium right
this
here
would be the
from
third.
last year. So it was
Okay,
Verstappen with the win, Leclerc
last year.
second, yeah, Leclerc
Okay,
second, and Sainz third. A Ferrari 2-3 last year.
Jesus, third show. Now I'm already screwing up the stats.
When I looked it up earlier, I was shocked. I was shocked too. I was like, I can't believe Ferrari had a 2-3 that high last year. Before it just all went downhill.
You know, like every other Ferrari car, you got the first few races, and then
Hmm.
it's bombs away. But yeah, like hey, I got to go on the limb every once in a while, and Lance is my limb pick.
Yeah, I like that. I was
Yeah,
actually, I was still thinking. I think his doctor told him that he wasn't going to be 100% till Australia. So the risk could still play a factor, but I think he looked good today.
yeah. I mean, even so, like he's got another 2 weeks of recovery,
Yeah,
and then I think that's Australia,
yeah.
and then another 3 weeks after that. He's got that tough Canadian grit to him, that sandpaper finish.
Hmm.
Well, that's all I got. If you have anything else to add, man.
No, that's it. I'm excited for qualifying tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir. I am too. We will be doing a post race show, obviously, uh, through sometime early in the week. It won't be Sunday. We have jobs and lives. We can't get to it right after the race. One
Yeah.
day, when you guys click those download buttons as fast as you can, and we can do this. Heck, I'd love to do it daily, to be honest with you.
When you guys are
Uh,
paying the bills, we'll be doing live shows from the race.
I'll even when we have a 2 week buffer time. I'll even let Kyle shoot me with a paintball gun if we don't have anything to talk about. As long as you guys are paying the bills, shoot, we'll put up content left and right.
Yeah.
But we'll be having a post race recap. Hopefully, we can get JP's picks before, since we didn't have the it factor of the podcast on today, uh, and before qualifying. And yeah, just be on the list, and we'll have our the show up within a day, or post race show within the middle of the week next week, and a couple little like I won't call them filler shows. We were talking about doing some a little different shows here and there in between races, because the next few races there are going to be some long gaps in between, and we definitely want to keep the content machine rolling. Thanks for listening. I've been Scott,
I'm Kyle.
and have a great day and enjoy a nice race weekend. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Paddock Talk. Don't forget to like and share the episode, and check us out at Paddock Talk on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord.